You know that feeling when you're in a situation and something just feels off? You're not sure why, but you decide to go with the flow because it's probably nothing. Then things unfold exactly the way you were dreading, so you tell yourself, I knew it. Well, today I had the opposite feeling of this. I typically consult my gut when I'm trying to make a decision, but throughout the entire day, it was as if several things aligned to give me this continuous feeling of clarity, and every subsequent realization affirmed my new epiphany. Everything is falling into place, and I'm finally starting to see the bigger picture, and it all feels so right. If you ask me what I'm basing this off of, I couldn't tell you. There's no data, no numbers, no analytics to prove it. Nothing specific happened, and nothing's changed, except for maybe a shift in perception, a little tilt of the lens, something I couldn't see before that has always been in front of me. I just have to do the one thing that I've never fully done on this entire journey, trust myself completely. From now on, I'm doing this my way, on my terms, and it's going to be better than anything I could have ever imagined. I got this, yo, and I can't wait to share what happens next.
Hello and welcome to The Enthusiasm Project. My name is Tom, and this week I have my very first podcast guest. So, the last two episodes, I'm really excited about this. The last two episodes, we've spent a lot of time talking about time and talking not just about like time management and being effective in that realm, but how time is something, basically your time on Earth is limited. And so the way you use it should be very specific and very intentional. And I wanted to have this person as a guest on my podcast since before I started it. And I wanted to have a very specific discussion. And we're planning to do this tomorrow. But I came home from work today. And luckily, I also happened to live with this person. And she was firing on all cylinders with a realization or a breakthrough or whatever you want to call it that was super in line with what I wanted to talk about on our podcast. So I haven't even told you what I wanted to talk to you about. So you're going to find that out. But it's really in line with this. So
I just posted on your story.
Cool. Sorry. Without further ado, here is my guest, Heather Ramirez, or as you may know her online, HeatherJustCreate.
Hi.
I don't have an applause sound effect. Yeah, sorry.
Hello.
And today, I mean, we started this show with you reading something that you shared on Instagram today, and I kind of wanted to get into that, and I want to continue a discussion, which you've heard most of. You've been an avid listener of my podcast since the beginning. So tell us, those who may not know, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I quit my marketing career in early 2016 because I basically saw a need at the school I was working for where I was super into digital media and digital technology and you know, it was a very essential part of my job. And then I was seeing that the students were being told, like, you shouldn't be on your phone and all of the horrible things of the internet and stuff like that. So, you know, I said, all right, you know, there's definitely dangers of the internet and all those things, but there should be some kind of authority or resource that is educating and empowering these people to use these tools positively and productively. And so I quit my job to try to start something that addressed that, and I have documented my journey ever since.
And documenting it on YouTube.
On YouTube, yes. Yes.
Have you met any weirdos through YouTube?
Yeah, I got this one comment last year from another digital media enthusiast, actually. Mm-hmm. Creator of the Enthusiasm Project YouTube channel and now podcast.
Yeah.
Who I fell in love with.
Yeah, so I mean that's a story, like we've told that story a lot on your channel. I don't know if we really touched it on my channel, at least recently, and definitely not on the podcast, but basically, I mean, that's how Heather and I met was I was looking to buy a boosted board in the summer of 2017, and I was looking up reviews. She posted one. It was great, and then it also YouTube's algorithm suggested a video, suggested another video from Heather where she was talking about digital media.
See, so the algorithm works.
I know it's not necessarily the enemy, and I clicked on the video because no one ever talks about digital media, and when I heard those words and what you were talking about, it really piqued my interest. And for the school program where I teach, the digital media pathway. We needed industry advisory partners, and I just sent an email, not even expecting you to ever come out here, from Long Beach to the desert, but to just say like, hey, from a distance, could you provide input and just feedback? I needed some like fresh blood in the community. And then you came out and we talked, and we ended up, we spent a couple months as, workers, like co-workers and colleagues trying to create some digital media stuff. And then we finally just said, who are we kidding?
Hey, we tried.
Yeah. But the best, not the best part, but the thing that ties it all together is the day that we met. I want to go all the way back to the day that we met in person.
Okay.
Which was at the high school where I worked during summer vacation. You drove all the way out from Long Beach to have a tour of the program where I teach. And from the moment we met, I mean, we went straight into a conversation that lasted from like 1 p.m. to like 1 a.m.
Yeah. It was past midnight.
Yeah. It was insane. Just, I mean, on a lot of levels, the connection and the goals that we were sharing and the like-mindedness and it was like discovering, it was like you've spoken a language that no one else speaks, and you finally found somebody who actually speaks your language, and you don't have to use shorthand or anything with them. You can just go full into it, and there's no translations needed. And it was quite incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was very... I don't know. It was just such a vivid feeling that I've never felt with anybody else before from the get-go, literally from seeing you for the first time. It's weird. I know that sounds so like cheesy, but I swear it's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, we're literally spending our Friday night recording a podcast. So, but one of the things that resonated so deeply with me that day that we first met was when you were talking about what you do. And I was trying to like spread my wings and create my own digital media stuff. And I had started a YouTube channel and posted a couple of videos, but I didn't know what I was doing or why really. And then you kind of came in and gave me a good kick in the butt. And we had a big conversation about the idea that you can be actually in charge of your own life, and you don't have to have somebody else create your life. You can create it for you. And that was the main thing when I wanted to have you on the podcast. I wanted that to be our discussion, like last week, the week before when I asked you. I wanted to talk to you about your transition, motivation, thoughts on doing something different. And even if it's not traditional, something that you'd be proud of when all is said and done and you look back on the whole journey. I
mean, yeah, that's a lot to
I know. That's why podcast is long form.
Basically, like, I didn't go into it knowing that is what I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, I just quit my job, and I was approaching the whole thing as in, my whole life revolved around whatever career I was supposed to have. So when I quit my job, my instinct was not even just like, why did I quit or what are my goals? It was just like, I need another job. And then, but then I saw this thing where I was like, I feel this is something I've never felt before. I felt like I said this in a speech I gave the other day where I felt like I was seeing something that no one else was seeing. And even when I tried to tell other people, they still couldn't see it. And I was just like, if I'm going to try to do something, it's going to be now or never. But I didn't go into it thinking like I'm going to have freedom and, no like cap on my salary, eventually being able to make more than I ever could have. And, these are not things I thought about. And even, 3 years into it, creating my life is still, it's like, there's so much pressure that you have to like totally not care about in order to embrace what it truly means to create your life. And what I mean by that is like, we talk about this all the time. There's like hustle life and entrepreneur life, and there's a lot of like expectation or, okay, if you quit the work in 9 to 5, there's this thing that we're supposed to see on your social media feeds, and I have, it's weird because I don't want that, I'm not trying to like be a bajillionaire. I mean, that would be nice, but that's not like my primary goal. Right. And the other thing is like, it's the thing that I really have struggled with is almost being a slave to your own thing, your own thing that you've created, because, you know, I am pursuing my passion, and there is no division between work and play because they're the same.
Right. You're your boss.
Yeah. And so I am my worst client. I am my worst boss I've ever had. Like, all of that has been such a struggle. But I'll tell you right now, in this moment, I feel so just happy and excited, and just, you know, I don't know, like an enthusiasm for what I am dedicating most of my waking hours to. You know?
Yeah, that's been my kind of thesis from the beginning, which, like, before I had the enthusiasm project and all that was always in my classroom syllabus. Like, the last rule at the beginning of the year was just be enthusiastic, because you have to list all these rules that you have in a classroom for your students and these expectations. And the last one's enthusiastic. And I just describe it as, like, if you're enthusiastic, you can conquer the world. All these other rules will take care of themselves. You don't need to tell a teenager to, you know, not do this or to do this a certain way if they're enthusiastic about something. Everything else falls into place once that's sparked. And so that's kind of, I mean, that is the whole thing. If you're excited about something and you're putting everything into it, things seem to have a way of working out eventually, but it can be terrifying. I say that as someone who hasn't taken the leap of, like, quitting my job, but definitely, you know, I've taken career leaps and I've taken personal leaps, and I've not taken them, and I've definitely seen the difference. And the excerpt that you read at the start of this podcast is what, when I came home today, what we were talking about. And that was like a huge breakthrough thing, that it's 3 years into your journey that you had it. But I mean, let's contextualize that within the journey from 3 years ago to now. And I mean, how are you feeling today? I think today I want to capture the lightning in a bottle, that, you know, the conversations we had earlier.
I think my biggest thing is, you know, I have lived my life in just doing what I feel like I'm supposed to do, whether that's what mom and dad have been telling me what to do, what society has told me what to do. They have defined what success is, what happiness is for me my entire life. And I never really thought, you know, what is it, if I had it my way, you know, like, what is success to me? And it's that's a whole, like, deprogramming thing where you have to not care about being judged, because it's just being judged left and right. Like, oh, you're not gonna have kids, or you're not gonna, you know, make X amount of money by whatever age. And even when I became an entrepreneur, it's like I didn't know what I was doing, so I just was so desperate for advice and validation from people who have done something that I'm trying to do. And I think the eureka moment I came to today is like, look, I'm not ignoring everyone's advice, but also I'm not everybody else. And the things that I feel like I have seen success with in the way that I define it, that's the key thing. Because, you know, the way that everyone's going to define success has something to do with money. But I told you this earlier, and this is the thing I'm always going to fall back on, is that you are living, breathing proof of, you know, of like the reward.
Me?
Yeah, like you're like I don't want to. It sounds weird to say it, but like a profit, like a positive thing, you know, like a result of my hard work, you know, of chasing my dream, of trusting myself. Like, you are that proof. And if I told that to any seasoned entrepreneur, MBA person, they're gonna be, you know, they would laugh at me in my face, but I cannot, I'm the happiest I've ever been. So I just, you know, today I'm just realizing, like, that stands for something. It might not to anybody else, but I don't care.
Right.
Like, I'm going to start to trust myself and just be like, yo, like, what if there's more of this, you know, like more of this impact, more of like, you know, I mean, how much of our lives changed because we met? Exactly.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but I don't really send emails out to people on YouTube asking them to, like, help out with personal things. There was just something, whatever it was, that just seemed, I don't know, something just pushed me, and I could have thought no, but something in my gut was like, just reach out to this person. And then I reached out twice. You kind of ignored my first
I know,
one.
sorry.
Well, because I actually didn't know how it works. So I left a YouTube comment, which was like the first time I've ever done that. I didn't really know how it worked or how the person gets it or whatever. So then I also sent an email because it's like,
So
it's worth following up on, because she may have never even, it's not that she's rejecting the first one. She may never even seen it. And I didn't want to go into a school year, going like, oh man, I could have had like some help or some insight making this really great. And I didn't. And now I'm just kind of doing what I was doing anyway. But I mean, it's that same thing of your gut tells you a lot, and we're really, really good at ignoring our guts, especially if it goes against what most people are doing.
And the thing is with entrepreneurship, there are a lot of people who, like Elon Musk, who degaff, just, I don't need validation. I don't need proof of concept. I'm just going to go and trailblaze. Like, there's going to be those kinds of entrepreneurs. For me, I mean, this has been the scariest thing I've ever done. I've always had someone holding my hand, or at least, showing me the way. And so, I wanted to do what other people have seen success with. Like, I just feel like that was in my nature. So to finally admit to myself, like, it's not even admitting, but it's taking stock of the success that I have in my eyes, and all of the success is stuff that I cannot write in a business plan, period, and it's not the way that other people have seen success with, or at least the role models, the Gary V's, these people that I have been heavily influenced by on this journey. Obviously not dissing any of these people. Gary is my hero, but I'm not doing what Gary is doing. So I guess like the shift in my perception is like, look, learn from these guys. From these guys, see how they're doing it, but that's not the only way. And the weird thing is, like, you don't know what the way is, but just do the way that you have the most fun with. Because that's like the best way I could trust my gut. Because I don't know what that means. Like, what does trust your gut mean?
There's just sort of like a feel, but I mean, fun isn't necessarily fun all the time. Because there's a lot about your job that's not fun. There's a lot about my job that's not fun. But there's like a happiness and a satisfaction that comes with it. And I think your gut, like trusting your gut, you just kind of, I feel like there's a lot of times when you have a decision, there's something that's nagging you, like, oh, you should do this, you should do this. You want to make a decision, you're kind of like, I wish I could do this. I mean, that's my biggest thing personally, is there's so many things where I've always classified them as being for other people, where I'd see, whatever it was, from playing an instrument to having a certain job to making a YouTube channel, where you're like, oh, that's so cool that people can do that. I wish I were one of those people, but that's for them. That's not for me. Like, and then finally your gut is just like, why? Like, why can't you? There's no law of physics that's stopping you from doing a thing. And like, just put your foot out there, like take the step and go for it.
And like, I don't know. The scary thing is like, I wouldn't give this advice to anybody else. Do you know what I mean? Because,
but it's
like,
personal though.
Yeah, it's just, I couldn't with good conscience tell somebody to take as much of a risk as I am willing to do. But YOLO, dude. Like, I mean, like, this is it. And maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just in a really good mood or whatever. I mean, talk to me next week. Maybe I'll feel different. But I want, like, if I'm going to dream, I want to dream big. And I'm not going to feel bad about it anymore.
Yeah.
I think I used to. It was like this shame, like, how are you even going to get there? Okay, one of the things I did recently is I went through an entrepreneur training program. It was like a 12-week training program to teach me the ins and outs of business and stuff like that. And, I learned a ton from that program, but I also learned that my dream, or the thing that I'm pursuing, it doesn't fit the model that I learned. And so I can take that as like, okay, my business model sucks. I'm a terrible entrepreneur. Or maybe I'm making something different. I mean, you gave the example of the pie.
Yeah. I stole that from Terry Crews, who who had like the craziest story as he was coming up and trying to establish himself and working with the NFL, and he was doing like commissioned portraits of NFL players to try to earn money, like just doing stuff like that in the locker room, like all these menial tasks that people look down on him for, but to build a thing that he wanted. And he explains in like an interview I heard with him a long time ago, where he was talking about everybody's so concerned with getting their own slice of the pie. He's like, just go make your own pie. Like there's plenty of room for more pies in the oven. And that's the best thing. And everybody I admire has done that in some way. They've from somebody like, you know, Casey Neistat or Gary Vee, like the people that kind of brought us together just in terms of, oh, cool, interest in philosophy. But Gary's the first person to say like, hey, his advice isn't for everyone. It's just his advice for people who are wanting a change and holding themselves back. And you know, but even, you know, the Aquabats, my favorite band of all time, they have not seen success in a way that they should have stopped being a band decades ago. But it's not about that. It's about doing something greater. And that, I mean, having that kind of hero as a teenager for me was huge, because it wasn't about fame or fortune at all. It was about doing the thing that meant the most to you, and then finding a community around that. Maybe it's a very small community, but there's a world in there. There's a piece of the pie or a whole new pie right there for you, and it doesn't have to be the same as everybody else's. And that's tricky when people look at you and will judge metrics, like you were talking about. Somebody, one of the big like entrepreneur preachers, will send out their income reports
like it's a very
month.
Popular thing.
Yeah, because it's almost like proof, like, hey, here's my philosophy, here's the return on that investment. You can't argue with that. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of people who have made a lot of money that would easily say, I mean, Jim Carrey said it. He was really famous for saying, like, I wish everybody could be super rich so they would see that it's not the answer to your problems.
Right.
And I think I mean, when you don't have money, it is the answer to a lot of your problems. Like, I mean, it is, and I would love to be independently wealthy one day, but there's so much more. There's just so much more to everything, because it's, yeah.
And it feels, the thing, you know, when you talk about creating a life that you love and like creating a life for you, this is what I mean, how it's weird, because who doesn't want fame and fortune? Like that's supposed to be the goal, but I don't know. I just don't want that primarily. Obviously, if it happens, it happens, but that's just not, you know, it's always been for me since, man, you can go to one of my very first few vlogs. I straight up say the phrase impact over income. Yeah. It's not about income, it's about impact. And I am trying to make an income off of making an impact.
Exactly. Me too, literally, because I made a program called Impact. Before we met, by the way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had a great point in my head, but I kind of forgot what it was. But that is exactly right. And it also is the condition, like fame and fortune sound really fun, but they sound really fun if they're on your own terms. If you're just there's a lot of things you could be famous and rich for that aren't the things you want to be rich and famous for.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, that's a huge thing for me, because I am really good at marketing. Right.
Yes, you are.
And I don't want to do this, you know, like I have to do it for clients, and I don't mind doing it. I like doing it. I enjoy it, but that's not what I want to do. I mean, I didn't quit my job in marketing to start a new job in marketing.
Right. But you do have great marketing skills, and there's a way to use all of your talents to lead towards whatever the thing is that you're trying to do.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things I've always admired about you from day one, was just the willingness to jump in and figure it out and build the life. And if parts of it are traditional, that's great. If parts of it are non-traditional, that's great too. And to feel the same way towards others when there's people who are doing something a little different. It's like, if they're happy and they're into it, cool. And not everybody's pie needs to be the same flavor.
Totally.
That's a weird metaphor.
But it's, for anyone listening, I do have to say it's been the loneliest thing I've ever done. It's straight up because you're just going against what everyone says. Everyone who's closest to you. And for you, it's different because I met you after, it's like I met you doing the thing that I trusted myself and no one else did to do. So, which is, it's so great to have someone who gets it, who is my life partner. That's, something
welcome.
I will always be forever thankful. But, if, I guess I don't want to give the wrong impression of like someone's going to listen to this podcast and go quit their job and try to start something. It's not easy. It has 100% been the hardest thing. I just wouldn't wish this upon anybody else. But it's possible.
How do you think you'd be feeling right now if you had the thought 3 years ago to start your own thing and to take a leap, but instead you just said, that's crazy, forget it, and just stayed the course?
Honestly, like I could like cry thinking about it. It's the most terrifying. It's the most terrifying feeling because it's just like none of this would exist. Nothing. I don't even want to know where I still would have been. Because it's just, I feel like even just looking back, this whole journey has been so liberating for me personally in discovering what I have to offer, like who I even am. And that's not something I don't think I would have ever discovered working for the jobs I had. Maybe in teaching it's different because, you have a classroom and there's some kind of independence of like, I am going to run my classroom the way that I want to. But
it's a weird
for me,
ground,
like in marketing, it's a weird freaking industry with a lot of politics and a lot of, that office culture and just weird crap. And, it just was such a terrible, I was so anxious. I was depressed. I was like, it was terrible. I loved what I did, but I hated dealing with what had to come with it. And maybe that was just that organization and, but every job I've had, it's like, there was always something. And I always had to like remind myself, like, try to find the good things and like, or try not to care.
Right.
I have told myself that at every single job I had, and that sucks. Like, it sucks that I had to turn down my passion so that I wouldn't be so like frustrated that we weren't working to the capacity I knew we could.
Right.
And the fact that I could do that till kingdom come all day, every day, or not, and that's just my decision, is the best.
We commiserated on that the day we met because that was before I had the Impact digital media program that I started, which was just, I wrote all the classes, made up all the stuff. I was a teacher in another digital media program at a different school that had been established for like 7 years or so before I was there. And I was there for about 4 or 5 years and 4 years. And in that time we rebuilt the program, wrote some courses, and I took a lot of what I learned to my new program. But one of the reasons I wanted to leave my old school was just because the workload was insane. The stuff that we were stretched so thin, and there was never less than a 10-hour day, oftentimes 12 or 13, 14-hour days, and then weekends. And it was too much. And so the chance to start something new, the first thing everyone said was like, well, you're starting it new, so the workload's entirely on your shoulders, which is true. And I say that after having a pretty hellish 2 weeks where I'm a little dead. But I got that same comment from friends and family and even like coworkers and administrators who would just say, you don't have to do this. Just, the bar, there is no bar because nothing existed. You're not trying to continue a legacy. Like, there's literally nothing here. So anything you do is going to be better than what we have. So just do the bare minimum and then you raise the bar a little bit. And I think I tried that for like 4 days. And then I was like, oh, I can't do this at all. And I can't. I would rather be tired and stressed, but at least proud of what I'm doing and at least knowing I can't do that. It's just, there's something wrong, I think, if that's how you have to get through life, is to just, I don't know.
I got feedback from one of my supervisors, like, because I'm the type of person, and I have, I've reevaluated my pride in this, but I was the type of person who was like the first one there and the last one to leave and working weekends and being very like proud of that. And you talked about this in one of your episodes, but I really was doing work. And the reason why I did that was because I had made the transition from an organization that had zero marketing budget and a, 84-year-old boss,
right,
like CEO, to one that had a staff of 65, 70, huge marketing budget, and like just a lot more freedom. And no one liked me before, like completely offline.
Right. So it
was like Disneyland, I wanted to go to town. And one of the criticisms I got from my supervisor was like, why are you so proud that you're here on the weekend? Like, why are you so proud that you stay here so late? And I looked at him like, I was so confused when he said that, because I was like, shouldn't you be thankful
that your employee is doing
like
this?
I'm working hard. I'm making this easier for you. I was like, I mean, that whole thing went down.
Right. That's not the happiest ending to a story, but
like, I feel like, at least in the organizations or the people that I was surrounded with, I was always the one who was just working really hard in a short amount of time. Like, I could do what someone else, it took someone else 5 hours. And I don't know if that's like bragging, but I just don't, I'm just really resourceful in that way. And I just liked doing everything I can to make everyone's life easier.
Right. I understand that. That's also an easy way to really find your limits real quick. Not your limits, but your boundaries, like in terms of where you hit a ceiling or a wall and you can't go further. And you just, I don't know, maybe that's the thing that like is the impetus to break beyond that.
I think that's where I would have gotten stuck if I hadn't quit, is just like, the doormat situation.
Right.
Is that because I had nothing outside of work. Like, that was my life. So if I could no longer expand at work, who was I? And that's the most rewarding thing from quitting my job and trying to do my own thing and finding what really makes me happy, because now it's like, I didn't even know what made me happy back then. And now it's like, I could literally dedicate my whole life to that, and it's the best.
Right. So that makes me feel so good to hear.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, it's so, I mean, honestly, like when I had the idea for the Enthusiasm Project, which that would sound like a really pompous thing to say, but I'm going back to, my ambition has always been from the time I was in high school. I came from a place of not security.
Right.
And I don't mean like personal insecurity. That's a whole separate thing. But but I mean, just growing up, we didn't have a ton of money. There was a lot of instability. My parents, especially my mom, worked really hard to provide stability, but at, pretty significant personal sacrifices on her part. And so for me, stability was really important. So the idea of consistency and routine and a paycheck was really important. It was something that I valued and thought was a key to success. And I still value that strongly. But at the same time, even if that's something you love, you need to be, I think, making something of your own and doing your own thing and exploring something new and indulging your curiosities and whatever that might mean. And so I've always thought that there's a great balance to whatever your main gig is, to at least having something. I mean, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's a business, whatever it is, having something outside of it or multiple things outside of it that let you explore. And you just never know how the dots will connect. And that's why it's important to make dots so that they can be connected.
Exactly.
Later on.
Totally.
I forget what led me to that point, but I just get so sad when I see a lack of curiosity and a lack of like podcasts are a really good example. There's a few Facebook groups and whatever online groups that I'm a part of, and you're a part of some of them. And it's a lot of where people are trying to create some stuff and make some things. And a lot of people want to start podcasts, and there's so many things and I was this person a couple of years ago where I want to make a thing and I think I'm ready to do it. I just have 4 more weeks of planning and this, that. And it's like, just do it. Just do the thing. Like stop with the planning. And that was going back to my original point, was what I wanted to do was share people's stories and profile people who are literally projecting their enthusiasm and are examples of whether or not it's for money and whether or not it's objectively successful by the standards of the greater world, are doing something that you say this all the time, where you're like, I don't want to die, but if I died tomorrow, I would be very happy, like satisfied.
Yes, I 100% believe that. I've always believed that.
So to be in that, to find people who are in that position and figure out how they got in that spot, I think is a really interesting story. And I think that is something that I've always felt really strongly about. And I mean, you're a perfect example of that.
Yeah. I mean, today, I told you this earlier, I think today is going to be, I don't know what it is, but I really do believe that today is going to be one of those days we look back on together and be like, oh my God, that was the day that everything changed.
It makes, it was music to my ears when you started saying the things that you were saying.
I don't, it's not, like my Instagram post said, like nothing changed. No one said anything to me, but I think it's been just a combination of like everything I've gone through, experience, and then just all of a sudden noticing these things. And I think the biggest realization, here's a takeaway I'd love to share with whoever listens. Surround yourself with just things, like read things, watch things, listen to things, talk to as many people as you can. But the one thing that I was doing when I was starting this journey was I was thinking that everything I was consuming was the answer. Like I was looking for the answer. But today I think I came to the realization where it's like you look at these things and you realize that you could say, that's exactly how I don't want to do it.
That's a great examples of what you don't want to be are, for me, were always some of the strongest ones, because it's easy to see what's working sometimes, but it's sometimes more clarifying to see what doesn't work, or at least what doesn't work for you. And I've
tried. That's where my gut has really come into play, because I'll try, of course. Why am I not going to try something that someone has seen success with? And then it doesn't fail. It just doesn't. I end up stopping. And Tom has seen this over and over. I have started and stopped 1,000 times. And I just think back to like a year ago. You know what I was doing a year ago? I was taping. I was recording Zero to YouTube Hero. And like that whole course, I mean, I'm proud of it. But looking back, it just, it's mimicked off of what I learned. It's like everything was just like, okay, now you got to put them in this email sequence so that you can upsell them, and this whole.
It was very marketing based. It's a great course for someone who wants to do that sort of thing. 0to-YouTubeHero.com online course. You're paying me for this, right?
But like, if I were to do it over, yeah, it would be different. It would just be different, and so yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's that, because it's that human. It's that human component where because it's what you're saying. You can't put it in a business plan. You can't really get a lot of data to back it up and to correlate it. But it's sort of the thing. It's just the impact you have on other humans. So Zero to YouTube Hero as a marketing, SEO, whatever thing makes sense. But a course where it's just going to teach someone how to tell their story digitally is so broad, but also so incredibly valuable. But how do you quantify its value? I don't know, but I feel like it's something that's really important.
And I could just already hear everyone like, God, how naive, like, and I don't know.
But it would be, because just to clarify, because I was very sure when we had the discussion earlier to point out, as if you didn't already know, but just to back up what you're probably thinking, like you have clients and you have work. There is a very practical side to sustain a living doing things on your terms, where you can pay bills and support yourself. But then there's this other thing that's growing that is new and different, and you don't know where it's going to go. So it's not super naive where there's no trust fund or definitely no sugar daddy or anything like that.
Right.
Like, it's just like there is a practical side in addition. I guess that's kind of my thing that I was talking about when I was like, you have a job, you do other thing. There's a practical side. You need to exist in our society. But once those things are met, your base needs, then the rest is up to you. And I think that designing your own life is where you're just, it's great to hear you step into your own. And the example we talked about earlier was Apple Computer, because they're always everybody's a great example. And obviously not everybody is Apple, because there's only the one. But the idea that two people got together in a garage and started putting computers together, that was not a thing that would have been recommended to be done, because it wasn't a thing people did.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So how do you invent a computer company when computer companies aren't really a thing yet? Well, I don't know. So
and that's where I feel like I could hear the voices in my head telling me, so you think you're going to make the next computer. And the feeling I have today is, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I know that's, I don't know
but
why
it doesn't mean
I
you're going to be a
feel
$1
that
trillion
way.
company. It just means you're making something that's valuable, and you don't know where it's going to go.
I feel like I'm going to make something like amazing. Like,
Yeah.
just,
no, I know.
like incredible.
There's no thing.
But like, I just, it goes against logic.
Well,
and I know that. But.
It's when you're when you're in second grade and your teacher says, what do you want to be when you grow up? All of the kids say the same 6 things.
Right.
I want to be a doctor. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be a teacher. It's just the things that they know, the things that are immediate and concrete in their world. Nobody says, I want to be a quality assurance assessor for a finance I'm making up a job title that I don't know, but that actually sounds like a boring one. There's a lot of good ones. I worked at Trader Joe's as a sign artist for 5 years. That was a terrific job. The pay was great. There was health benefits. It was basically like getting paid to go to art school. I would have never said, I want to be a sign artist at a tropical themed grocery store. And then there's things that go, levels beyond that, where you have, your brother is like this Imagineering position that is also like somewhat marketing / experimental. There's all these jobs out there and all these paths you go on that no second grader could answer, because they don't know that they're out there. And so I kind of feel that it's that way when you're starting your business plan, you're telling people about it, especially if they're of the more traditional mindset. It's just not, what do you mean? There's no brick and mortar, there's no product, there's no ideal target audience. And you're just like, yeah, but there's probably this other thing that none of us know about yet, but I got to make a thing for that to be a thing.
And, the word that it comes down to that I've been thinking a lot about today is like faith. Because faith is like a weird, like, what, I don't know. I think it's almost something that people use it as an excuse, or it's this like weird mystical thing. And I mean faith as in like not in a higher power, no offense, but faith in myself.
Yeah.
That I could do it. And like, I don't think I've had that. I've never doubled down on myself. And I think even when I did, I was double downing on myself doing something that I've seen work,
right.
But I haven't just like, okay, pretend like you had $1 million. How would you do it?
Exactly.
What if you had 1 million followers already? Like, just take the fame and fortune out of it, because that is what you were, like, everyone is telling you to think about that. So just pretend it's like, okay, check, cool. Now what? And I don't think I've ever done that before.
I think that's huge.
That is huge. And that's why I feel like really, I don't know, I feel really excited. So follow me on my journey.
What's your, where do you go from here? You wake up tomorrow and you're like, what?
Okay, so my to-do list for tomorrow is...
Yeah, what's your like, I don't, not immediate. That you have one, immediate, 6 week / 5 year, path to happiness. Give us the secrets.
Well, I think the first thing I need to do is try to do something my way to get data. So, one of the things I want to do is kind of challenge the people that are following me to share their story. So it's going to be a very mini version of what I've done, right? Because my goal is like, I want to help people learn how they can share their stories to spark their potential and make an impact and stuff like that. To do that in front of a camera is very difficult, super difficult. And but I want people to not think like you need to be a 10-year-old who knows how to use YouTube. That's not the requirement. That's not the prerequisite. A 78-year-old probably has a ton of stories, which would be like the world would be so much better for hearing or seeing those stories. And so it's not about that. And I basically, that I have been my own testimonial by documenting my journey this entire time. And I want to do a very small condensed version of that. It's free. It's unpaid. I'm not getting any money out of it, but I just kind of want to test it and gather the data and be like, okay, am I totally insane? Or is this something that's going to click with people? I have a feeling it's going to click with people.
I think for sure. Because
I've done a very even smaller version of it.
Exactly.
And people have done it and, they did it. So, yeah, that's the first thing that I'm going to do that over Instagram, I think. And then, I don't know. How do you
reconcile... Because, I know like a lot of the answers are fluid, but how do you reconcile wanting to share your story on your own terms with the desire to also grow and, it like with the focus on what's the first question people say when you tell people that you do YouTube?
How many subscribers do you have?
Exactly.
How much money do you make?
Yeah, those are the first two. So, and then the first comment they'll say is my 10-year-old wants to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
But how do you balance? Because we all like to think, myself included, when I started a YouTube channel was, I don't care. I just want to start it. I don't care if there's who cares? But the reality is you do want your message to reach people. When you work really hard on something, you want people to see it. And there is something that tells you, if you're putting out multiple videos every week and your numbers are going down, 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 that tells you something. If they're going up, 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 that tells you something. If they're staying steady, that tells you something. And most people want to see them go up to some degree. But how do you reconcile that with this feeling of my way? And I'm asking for non-selfish reasons. Wink, wink.
It's been a process, obviously, because you go in not caring and then all of a sudden it's in front of you and that's all you care about. But the thing that I always fall back on is that every time I've seen declining numbers, it's like, we'll zoom out and it's overall trending upwards. It might be slower overall, but I don't know if that's because I'm a good storyteller or, my message is resonating. I don't know if that's what it is, but I know the thing that I've struggled with a lot in the past 6 months is exactly this. And my mantra for 2019 is to just completely not look at it at all. Because if I'm going to preach to people, look, it's not about the numbers, then I need to practice what I preach. It's not about the numbers, and again, you're living proof.
Thanks.
You know what I mean? Like, I could have quit and we would have never met.
Right. There's things that aren't measured in stats on a page.
Exactly. And the video I made like 2 videos ago, I got this comment that really annoyed me. That was like, I want to see more skateboarding videos. And I was like, why is this? Don't tell me what to make on my own freaking channel. And I got super annoyed. And then that same person left a comment on my most recent video where I did a speech and it was like 18 minutes long and it was this whole, and then
one shot, one static camera shot.
The person watched the whole thing and left me this super sweet comment about how the speech was great, and clearly they message resonated with them and they watched the whole thing. And I just think to myself, well, the numbers are declining. I could have let that comment annoy me. I've been getting dislikes on all of my video. I could let all these things stop me, but I'm just like, you know what? I fall back on, I wanted to share that.
Yeah,
I am enthusiastic about sharing that. It sparks joy, whatever. Like I want to share this thing because it makes me happy. And
Yeah.
That to me is a success in itself. Because look, if I'm the one who ends up holding myself back, then I'm doing the anti of my own message, and I can't
That makes me so happy to hear that.
I have to be my own example. That's the thing I've seen the most success with, is just being my own example. And that means like, I could tell from my Instagram posts and the things that I've been uploading recently is just like everything is more, I don't know if it's with integrity.
Right.
It's not, it goes beyond authenticity. It's like I'm just being true to myself and owning it.
And that, I mean, people have a really
That's
good
the real success
sense of just sniffing that stuff out. And that, I don't know,
Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes a ton of sense. And it goes with me because I've brought this up several times over the past year, or maybe like a little over a year, where I go like, sometimes I feel like it doesn't seem like you've been having fun with YouTube lately and stuff. And because you're just drowning in stress and freaking out over whatever. And I think, and I mean, it's all valid. It's all 100% valid. And if you freak out and stress, tomorrow or next week or whatever, that's completely valid. But what makes me so happy about hearing this revelation, other than that it's soothing to me and builds my confidence in, the things I want to do, and hopefully other people hear that and it makes them feel good about it too, but is I remember when you would just do things for fun, and it didn't necessarily have to tie into this larger strategy, and it was just about because you wanted to, like, I'm going to upload this video because I made it and I think it's cool and I want to share it, and you don't know what's going to come for it, and then it's going to affect somebody in some way and maybe make a positive impact on someone, and they're going to take, like, that is data you can never quantify, is how that reach expands. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that the person left a comment or didn't, but it's very easy that you uploaded a video of a speech that you could have just decided not to upload. Someone heard it. Now someone is deciding to go look up how to start a business, and it shifted the course of somebody's entire life. And you'll never know, but that could have happened, and it could have not happened if you didn't do it.
Yeah, and because even hey, let's take it offline. How about that speech? And I told you this earlier. Like, I could have put a little paragraph at the end that said, like, hey, if you want to learn, join my 10-day challenge. Like, if you want to learn how to share your story the way that I did, and maybe have it resonate, online or whatever, you sign up for my challenge, and then who knows what would have been created from that.
Yeah.
Or not, and you would be, I think that is a great monetization opportunity. Like, there's a way to monetize
something there.
this. Yeah.
But you're not going to know what it is until you explore it.
Exactly. It's not like I'm just giving out, everything free. Of course, like, I want to, make a sustainable living off of this. And I'm not stupid, but I'm
right. No,
I'm definitely optimistic, but I'm not like, I don't think I'm naive, or maybe I am.
No, people often mistake positivity and optimism for naivete, and that drives me crazy.
What it is.
No,
I'm really good at what I do, and so I just want to trust myself to, like, you know what? I don't
Negativity is easy.
Yeah.
Positivity is hard, and that's
what I'm really good at.
Yes.
So I should hone in, yo. Like, do the thing. Like, I can guarantee you, all these people who are, like, doubting, they can't do it the way I can. Sorry, this whole talk is now just like...
No, this is exactly why I wanted to push the record button right now. Why I wanted to do this tonight instead of tomorrow. I want this conversation. I want these feelings, because one of the things you're best at, you did it with me. You've done it with half a dozen other people, like, in your real life that I can think of, from friends and family to, whomever, is giving people the kick in the butt they need to do a thing.
Yeah.
Where the idea's been there, but the doubt is there, and you just kick them in the butt, and then the idea comes out. And that's what you're doing to yourself right now.
Exactly.
But it's also something that I want to have captured, because at some point somebody could hear it. Like you said, we don't even know, and it could do the thing. It could be the butt kick that they need to do the thing, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And that is priceless. And hopefully it is moneyable,
monetizable.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's something to be said for having that impact. So
I don't know, because whenever I hit my downward cycle, because it'll come, and I'm definitely
But
not
understanding
naive to
that is important too.
Yeah, but just play this for me, will you? Like, just have it going, have Alexa play it, and just let it kick me out of the. I'll probably need my own butt kick.
Yeah, but that's fine, but realizing that is important too, because there's also that whole thing that comes with the whole hustle culture and the entrepreneur world, where it's like on social media you just need to be crushing it. And I don't mean that even as pun intended, but literally that's what it is. It's just like, oh my gosh, just everything, just every day, 5 a.m., crush it, crush it, crush it, crush it. And if somebody's looking at that and they're like, I feel crushed. Like, it's devastating.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever done this, but seriously, if you go through hashtags like entrepreneur life, entrepreneurship, there are pictures of cash, like just cash on the table, and like a lot of it is like, Ray Kroc or whatever started McDonald's and now he's a bajillionaire and he started at 50. But it's like, what are you measuring? What's the measurement of success? It's not the fact. I mean, it's just the fact that he made $1 bajillion, and like, it's so money.
Exactly.
And that's never been my dream.
No.
So why am I using the same process to pursue a different dream?
Yeah, success is your own definition. You have to define it in your own way.
And that's the thing. So that's the takeaway is like, look, if you define success in a completely different way, like me, it is going to be the hardest thing you've ever had to do to create the path to get there, because you don't even know what it looks like, and it's a matter of constant testing, like try, adapt, try, fail.
And failing's okay.
And there should not be a negative connotation with fail and a positive one with success. There just shouldn't be. It should just, there's no win or lose. It's just data either way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't have success without failure.
Yeah.
So that's a good.
The only loss
Oh.
is giving up. 100%.
There it
That's
is.
the guarantee. I promise you that's the only thing. That is the only thing that is the only thing. Someone can tell you no. Like, the most important part. My mom and dad told me no to my face. Okay, I spent Christmas 2016 completely alone. Who wouldn't take that as the stop sign?
Exactly.
And I was sitting there like feeling very awkward because for some reason I was proud that I was working. It showed me how determined I was. Which is like, so I'm sure 1,000 people probably felt sorry for me.
Well, that goes back to one of my favorite. There's just so many good points to bring up. That goes back to one of my favorite books, which is The Last Lecture from Randy Pausch. And I mean, it's a book, but it's also based on his YouTube speech from fall of 2007 when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He was a professor at Carnegie Mellon University. He gave a talk called The Last Lecture when he knew he probably wouldn't be alive within a year, and it's incredible. And then there's a book based on the talk that he wrote before he passed away a year later. So it did end that way. There was no miracle, like he died a year later. But in his last lecture, he puts up a slide of a brick wall and explains that the brick walls are not there to stop us. They're there to show you how much you want something. And that is such a huge takeaway. And that's what that Christmas was. That was a brick wall. And if you didn't want it that bad, that would have been the stopping point, but you went through or over the brick wall because you still wanted the thing. And that's probably where the pride came from working on Christmas. Was not hustle culture, but it was, I showed myself that this is the path that I want to be on. Mm-hmm. And you need those tests to get that from time to time, even though the medicine isn't the best tasting.
Yeah, exactly. And that builds that grit, helps you keep going. It's like, if I can handle that, I always think that, dude, you spend Christmas alone, dude. You talk to nobody. If you could do that, oh man, like, what else? Bring it on. Like, nothing is gonna fit, because it hurt. It sucked.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just spending Christmas. I've spent Christmas alone with a Big Mac before, but enjoyed myself tremendously. I think it was the context in which you spent Christmas alone, which was, and that is kind of the key takeaway there. But thank you so much for sharing your realizations.
I don't even know what your original thing was, but I hope we covered it.
And we just enriched it. That's why I was like, oh, this is so, which of course, because timing, I've had bad timing my whole life till I met you, and everything just kind of synced up where it was like, and even then, even an hour ago when I walked in and I was kind of going to sheepishly go like, do you want to record the thing tonight? I was just sort of sitting there and like, we could do it tonight if you want. I was like, really? Like, could we really?
You're so cute.
And then we did, because I was going to go, no, we'll do it tomorrow when we'll be both rested. But I wanted to capture the feeling, and it was why try to rebuild that and reenact it. Like let's capture it, because I think that'll do the most good. So where can people find you? What do they do?
So I am HeatherJustCreate on all of the things. You can probably find me mostly on YouTube and Instagram, but I'm also on other things too.
Yep.
So HeatherJustCreate.
HeatherJustCreate. So thanks again for my very first podcast guest.
I know. I feel very cool.
That was a spot I saved real specifically. No one else was going to get that spot.
That's awesome.
So now I can bring on other guests.
I hope you know that I am very proud of you.
Thank you
for finally making this a reality.
Yeah, after however long it's been, but you just got to do the thing.
Just got to do it, and you'll figure it out on the way.
So if you want to find more of the things, I'm at SoDarnTom on Twitter and Instagram, and of course the Enthusiasm Project on YouTube, which is the main thing other than this podcast. And thank you for giving us your time, your precious time, to enjoy this conversation. Hopefully you took something away from it. I really appreciate the opportunity to have you listen. And I always say we'll see you. I don't have like a sign off. I say see you next time, because that's what I always say like in videos, but there's no seeing, because this is an audio podcast. Yeah. So you'll hear me next time.
Yeah.
I've been great. You've been Tom. The end.